What's up, y'all? Back for round two. Conversations with your big homie Key. I got the phone still. Didn't get the tripod yet, but soon come, soon come. So, yeah. Like I told y'all before, this is going to be me candidly speaking with y'all about my thoughts. So, I want to ask y'all, do y'all think y'all are effective communicators? Um, this is going to be a little different than round one because I'm going to give you my take immediately. I think, well, it will be a little similar to round one because I'm not going to tell you, me personally, what I think I am. I'll save that for the end. But for now, I'll say that I think a majority of people think they are excellent communicators and think they're pretty effective. But I think a lot of people think that because they can talk like how I'm doing right now, just because I'm talking, that oh, I'm a good communicator. It's a lot more than that, I think. Um, I think to be an effective communicator, I think the biggest component with that is you have to listen. I know it sounds like communicate, listen, communicate, but in my opinion, I think that's the biggest thing you have to do is listen to be an effective communicator. How are you going to talk about a subject you don't have any knowledge of, right? Like, if someone, let's just use this example, if someone's coming to you with a problem, with an issue, if you don't know anything about the issue, how are you going to communicate? You have to listen first to see what the issue is. You have to diagnose it. Then you have to, cater the response to it. You got to do a lot of work before you actually start doing that. So I do goes back to my point. I think people think just because they do that, they talk, that they're like renowned great communicators. Um, I do think you can communicate without being effective. By that, I mean if you're speaking to somebody, you're in conversation with someone, and you're just talking and talking and talking, and the message ain't quite, if you have a message, it ain't quite hitting. It ain't quite sticking. You just talking. It ain't really doing nothing. Goes back to listening and knowing who you're dealing with. I think to be an effective communicator, you have to be very, you got to be very knowledgeable with your subjects. You have to be very knowledgeable with your subjects, and you have to be adaptable. You have to know who you're talking to, know how to reach them, know how to get whatever you're trying to get across. You have to be fluent in that person's lingo. And I don't mean English, Spanish. I mean, yes, all of that too, their native tongue, but you have to be fluent in how to penetrate their mind. So if you are used to communicating how you communicate, whatever that is, and you're just like a closed person, right? Like, oh, this works for me. This is how I am. This is one of the biggest things I see, I hear about, whatever. oh well, this is me, this is how I am, take it or leave it. I This is how I talk. Um, I don't know how far that person will go with communication. That's not too effective because one, you're not trying to be fluent in other people's intellect, other people's lingo. So I don't think that's not an effective communicator to me. Also, the other side of that is not saying nothing if you're having a conversation with someone. That's not effective communication either. Now, I do think it's effective if you are having a conversation with someone. And let's say I'm just going to use this example because it's the first one and easiest one I can think of for right now. Let's say you're having a disagreement with, you know what? A disagreement with your friend, your mom, dad, girlfriend, boyfriend. It could apply to whatever, to whomever. I think it's effective if you do need time to process, because that's a big thing. Like I see that a lot too. People need time to process, but they don't say that. They don't vocalize that, and that's where the poor communication comes in, because they don't vocalize that. I don't think it's anything wrong with needing time to process. I do think it's a problem where you don't express that, and if a common ground isn't met. For example, let's say you have a cousin. You get into a disagreement with your cousin. You just shut down. You just completely shut down. I ain't got nothing to say. You feeling however you feeling inside, boiling over. You ain't got nothing to say. Let's say your cousin that you're having a disagreement with, they got a lot to say, and they get offended. You ain't got nothing to say. You don't care. It look like you don't care. Whatever. I think to bridge that poor communication gap, it only takes a few words, a few sentences to go ahead and handle that. Like, hey, you know what? I I hear what you're saying. I'm processing it. Let's reconvene in about 20 minutes. I'm just saying 20 minutes. I'm just saying that. But a time frame. Let's reconvene in such and such and such so I can come back to you from a place of love and I'm not just flying off the handle. Can you accept that? What the other person says to them, or what the other person says to, yeah, to that person that said that, that's on them. Um, then you handle it accordingly from there. If they, I don't accept that, I'm mad. You probably don't need to be communicating with that person, in my opinion. But I would like to think, typically people will be okay with that, because a lot of times people, they just need clear cutness, a time frame. Like that time frame is clear cutness. You're not dismissing that person. You're not walking away from the issue or the disagreement. You're not combating that person. You're simply just going ahead and tabling it with a return date. That to me is effective communication. A lot of people don't do that. It's unfortunate because I feel like a lot of relationships, not even intimate, platonic, family, whatever, can be saved from just doing things like that. But I think pride and ego and F&E's, feelings and emotions, they get in the way of being able to simply say, hey, you know what? this disagreement, we bigger than this disagreement. First of all, if it's like that, if y'all there, y'all good, we bigger than this disagreement. In order for me not to come at you crazy, let me go ahead and take a breather, take a few. I'm returning in 30 minutes, whatever, and then we gonna pick it back up. The other person might have needed that too and just didn't know. Now, on the flip side of that, if you are the person that wants to get it all out right then and there, communicate right then and there, again, know who you're dealing with, know how to speak their lingo. It's no harm in you asking them, hey, you know what? This is a lot. Did you want to just take a moment so we could come back? You know what I mean? You just take maybe 20, 25 minutes so we can come back and then handle this the right way. It's not wrong with you asking that too if you are the one that wants to communicate immediately. Because you might say some stuff. Ain't nobody perfect. You might say some things. And I think this applies to your personal life, your work life, like whatever. But I think people are just so prideful and egotistical and so set in, I'm right, I want to be heard, that they're not even thinking about, is this even being effective? I'm being heard, but is it being retained? Nobody's retaining you coming at them in a crazy way. I'm sure it's going to be hard for people to probably retain that. So yeah, I think a lot of people think they're effective communicators, but I think they miss the mark sometimes. And for me, now I'm gonna give my little personal. Um, I do think I am an effective communicator. I do think it came with growth. Because I was that kind of communicator that right then and there, let's get it together. Let's talk. Let's fix it. Let's do this. And I did learn that some people do have to process things a little bit, not at the same speed that I process it, and that's okay. That's fine. Um, but I learned a tool that worked for me. That compromising thing is like, okay, people that may not process things the way I process things, we can meet in the middle. Just give me the return date. I go do whatever I do. You do whatever you do, and on that return date, we're gonna come back and reconvene. Uh, so yeah, I like to think I am an effective communicator, and I do think a lot of people can be. It's just one thing about me. That pride and that ego left a long time. I don't even know if it was ever there, but if it was, it left a long time ago because through life I've realized pride and ego, it's only so far it's going to take you. Depending on what you want out of life. So yeah, I think everybody can be an effective communicator if you just learn how to speak other people's languages. Oh, with that, let me just add this little part on too. When I say learn how to speak other people's languages, if you tell person A something, right? Or let me do it like this. If you communicate with your mom a certain way, you're probably not gonna be able to, if you're a fur baby lover, you're probably not gonna communicate with your dog that same exact way. Or your child. Or your brother. Or your sister. Now there are quite a few people that's like I said prior, I'm me, it is what it is, I'm me, this is how I am. You gotta learn how to navigate. I think you have to learn how to navigate. Um, if you want your message to get across, that is, if you're saying something and you want it to resonate and stick, You got to know who you're talking to and understand how they'll receive it, or else you're just talking to talk. So, yeah, this was just a little short one, just a little tap in. So, back to my original question. Do you think you're an effective communicator? Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. Y'all be easy.